When we began the fellowship, we wanted to do something that empowered teachers to solve problems and give them voice to be social change makers from their classrooms. We launched the fellowship in January of 2020 and had a couple months of working with our fellows. And then just after launching publicly to the community, our school shut down. But what happened, and I can remember explicitly getting on a video call with our fellows and basically saying, we have another problem and we need to solve it quickly. So we asked the question of, what do our students need right now? And immediately our fellows jumped to action. So within 24 hours of schools closing, our teachers had created a program we're now calling Learning in a Box. And I had identified the activities, the materials, and we went out and just purchased the materials, and within a week had 250 boxes of materials in the hands of the children. And because our teachers, our fellows, were in the classroom, they could firsthand tell us what modifications needed to happen.
Being a part of this fellowship has provided me with so many growth opportunities, not only as an educator, but also as a leader, as I was provided a collaborative environment in which I was able to connect with other educators who are equally as passionate about the work that we're committed to doing every single day, not just within our classrooms, but rather throughout the district.
So my project during the fellowship focused on boosting literacy outcomes for English language learners in kindergarten, students in kindergarten through second grade, primarily focusing on students who had been in the country for 1 to 3 years. One thing that stood out to us immediately in our research that I think is a kind of common trend that we wanted to bring back to our schools and our school district was that we found that these schools and school districts around the country were extremely inclusive of their English language learners. There often wasn't even a separate department that focused on English language learner supports, but rather it was something that was prioritized and practiced by all the departments, all the teachers, all the leaders.
When the pandemic hit and we realized some of our students don't have technology, so they're not going to be able to access learning that way, what can we do? And just putting our brains together to come up with the Learning in a Box and, the materials that would be in it to make sure they were aligned to the Common Core state standards and to make sure parents had specific instructions on how to use the materials to do different activities. I think that was just incredible.
The only way to solve problems in education is to have teachers at the forefront, and Improving Ed understands that, and they value what we have to say because they understand that we are at the forefront with having the closest contact with students, and understanding the issue from that perspective puts us in a position of being able to come up with solutions, but oftentimes we aren't given the space or the opportunity to do so.
When I think about the processes that we learned and we shared during the fellowship, I think that's one of my biggest takeaways, is that no matter how messy a problem is, it can be mapped out and it can be approached in a systematic way, and failures don't have to be an endpoint, but rather stops on the way, or versions, if you will, or trials even in the bigger picture. Iterations of what is to come.
By finding solutions to these problems within our communities, it was our hope and is our hope that we can stop and prevent any further interruptions to effective and equitable teaching and learning practices throughout the district.
So Improving Ed creating this fellowship was such an incredible opportunity to give teachers that space to come together and problem solve.
To date, we have now distributed 10,000 Learning in a Box kits. What we're excited for in the future is the fellowship as a model for social change. We didn't realize how impactful a group of 10 teachers could be, but when we put them together and focused on the real problems, we like to say that magic happened. For our next fellowship, we're going to go deeper. But we also know that there are big, huge problems out there that we also want to get teachers' minds around. If we've learned anything from this, it's that teachers are at the core of improving the educational system for every child.